Welcome. This is Lunar Living, a weekly conversation of lived astrology and cyclical wisdom that expands our connection with ourselves, each other, and all of life. Wherever you are, let's take a deep breath together and arrive just as we are. We're not here to predict life, we're learning how to grow in rhythm with it.
And each week we'll explore the current astrology, the wisdom of the moon, and the energetic invitations unfolding around us, translating the language of the cosmos into practical guidance that you can actually live. And together we will help you understand not only what is happening in the sky, but why it matters, how it might be showing up in your relationships, your emotions, your body, and your everyday life.
We'll share our own experience and learn how to embody the wisdom moving through us now, because transformation doesn't happen just through information. It requires our engagement. I'm Cholena, founder of Sat Mom and Lunar Living. For decades, I've explored what it means to live in rhythm with my own body, with the moon, with nature, and with others. I weave cyclical wisdom and embodied practices with relational awareness so we can remember our wholeness and expand our capacity for meaningful connection.
And I'm Elayni, astrologer healer and intuitive coach. And I love translating the wisdom of astrology into grounded, practical insights that help people navigate life with greater clarity, trust, and self-awareness. And together we will explore the gifts, the challenges, and the invitations held with each week's cosmic landscape, making the heavens feel personal, accessible, and deeply supportive. We're so grateful that you're here.
Welcome to Lunar Living. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's Lunar Living podcast. Today, we're talking about the solar eclipse on August 12th with my dear sister, as always, Elayni Prinsloo. I'm so happy to be here with you, Elayni, and with all of you talking about this eclipse season. Well, today we're just going to talk about the first eclipse, the solar eclipse on August 12th. The lunar nodes have just shifted. So the lunar nodes, what do the lunar nodes have to do with a solar eclipse? And what does it mean that the lunar nodes just shifted? And help us out, please.
So what happens is that the lunar nodes, these are two elliptical points. They're not planets, they're not stars. They're elliptical points in the sky. And what happens is that when these eclipses happen, right, when the sun moves in front of the moon, or the moon moves in front of the sun, and the earth is kind of sort of like sandwiched in the middle, there's like an obscurity that takes place, right? And so what happens is that these eclipses, or these orbital points, actually match these as the eclipses shift and as the sun shifts into different constellations at different times. These nodes also, it's a mathematical equation basically, and those, so like these points in the sky also shift as the cycles in the moon and all the years progresses around and all of these different things. So essentially what we do when we work with them is we look at the south node for our past, we look to the north node for our future. And the eclipse sits right next to them, so it tracks it. And these are destiny points, these are fated points, these are karmic points. On the day itself, when we actually have the first eclipse of August, which would be the new moon eclipse in Leo, the south node and the north node will be sitting at 29 degrees of Virgo and Pisces. And so it touches on the same day, it touches into the new sign, which would be Leo and Aquarius. And then it kind of shifts back a little bit so that when we get to the full moon eclipse at the end of the month, it's that final anaretic degree. And then from there, the lunar nodes shift. So the calculation point shifts, the cycle shifts. It's like a clock face that you can think it's like shifts a little bit. And then these two lunar nodes, or these ecliptical points of the moon, shift into Aquarius and Libra. And so then, not Aquarius and Libra, sorry, Aquarius and Leo, and they take on different energies, different collective lessons and imprints and karmic initiations that we are learning to work towards and walk away from. So you can think of your nodes as destiny points, pre-written, predetermined, and it is the north node is what you're working towards, the south node is what you're walking away from. So the south node is also what you've already mastered. So your past experiences, past lives, for both yourself individually in your own birth chart, and then also collectively for us as a collective, as a humanity. And then the north node is what we're working and invoking and creating for our future selves. So it's unknown, it's part of our purpose, it's part of our dharma, and it's sort of unfamiliar territory, but it is the direction that we're heading in. So we all come in with like a plan or with a blueprint or with an idea or a system, and we go, okay, this is what I want to experience in this life. I have my north node, my personal north node is in Aries. My south node is in Libra. And so a lot of themes in my life have been around learning to become independent within the construct of relationships, not people pleasing, not falling into self-sacrificing behavior. And it's been a very long journey to kind of learn that claiming of myself, claiming my independence, being my unique self within the relationship and not getting enmeshed in the relationships. And these are my intimate relationships, so family, partners, etc., etc. And so we all have this somewhere in our own chart. And when it comes to Leo and Aquarius, it's basically about, it's a threshold of, can we step into more of our conscious co-creation with humanity, and also our unique individual leading from the heart. So does that answer your question? Or am I rambling?
Yeah. No, I think that was perfect. So we understand that the lunar nodes are calculated points,
Yeah.
and they shift with the sun kind of throughout the
Yeah, with
season,
the moon.
throughout the year, with the moon. Obviously, they're lunar nodes. Awesome. So we've got some context for the lunar nodes shifting energies, and we're talking about the eclipse, the solar eclipse in Leo, August 12th. So this would be kind of like an opening into this, since this is the first of this eclipse season. So we call this eclipse season. So there's a solar eclipse and then a lunar eclipse around 2 weeks later. New moon, full moon, right? So we call that an eclipse season, but it's really kind of like a doorway. We use the word portal so often in astrology. It's just kind of like maybe we can find another, but it's useful because essentially this season, this 2 weeks that we have that we'll be actually working with the energy, opens this new door, and we will go somewhere with it. So in that context, like using the word portal is really accurate. So where do you want to go with this, and what is it hitting for you? So let's just kind of move into the conversation with that kind of in mind for us personally, and kind of in the back of our heads too, globally.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share the charts with everybody so that you can see what the chart looks like for the day specifically. So let me share my screen. All right, so there we go. And what basically Let's see if I can do that. Yeah. All right, never mind. So welcome to the chart of the first eclipse in August. So we've already gone through an eclipse earlier this year in March, right? Remember that every year we have 2 eclipses that take place. You know, generally give or take round about March, and then generally give or take round about excuse me, August, or this kind of time of the year. Or last year I think it was in September, but it always kind of coincides with that, like um, from a Gregorian calendar month, you would say that it was like it's somewhere between February, March, and then August and September, kind of like it stretches between these two months. So an eclipse is basically a period, like I've already said, it's connected to our karma, it's destined, it's these sort of activation points within our collective and individual journeys, purpose, past, future. It's fated. It's kind of like, destiny comes knocking and saying, okay, well, I'm here, I'm going to activate this thing and we're going to put this thing in motion. And the thing with an eclipse is that it's a seed point. It's a seed point. So it's not like the eclipse is, again, it's not a one and done. It's not like, okay, eclipse is here, I've got this, and now, it's done. Like sometimes because the eclipses can be, and the degrees that they activate is what essentially can have an impact on you for 6 months up to a year. So it's a longer theme of what transpires at every eclipse. And normally when Mars moves over that point or that degree, it kind of kicks the energy into motion because Mars is the planet that activates. So it's not necessarily that, we're going to have this big experience on the day itself, but it's more that something that day becomes activated in your sacred energetic blueprint, and then it starts to play out in your life for 6 months to a year, depending on, what is the lesson that you need to learn from this experience, or what is the karmic destiny point, or what is the thing that is basically activating for you according to your plan, if that makes sense. So, okay, let's have a look at this. So you can see here, we've got a lot of planetary activity, and I drew up a couple of extra asteroids and things because I thought that it would be quite interesting, because I like, in my own personal readings and things, I like working with asteroids and god and goddess archetypes. And when I drew up this chart just to see what it looks like, I found it fascinating that we have all of these really interesting sort of mythological, archetypal god and goddess energies that are actually activated and playing on this new moon eclipse. So this is a solar eclipse, but it's a new moon at the same time. So it's a new moon solar eclipse. So it's a seed. So the new moon is a new beginning. We know this by now. It's a new beginning. It's a new activation point. The seed is being planted, and when the sun is being eclipsed by the moon, essentially the brightest light is being taken away. Like there's a veil that kind of crosses over the sun, if you will. So it's more of a, whenever it's like a new moon solar eclipse, it's more of an like inward activation. So because that's the sun, right? Like the outward expression is the one that's sort of being veiled by the moon. So you can think of it as like a high priestess kind of energy, where it's like your not your light is being dimmed, but it's like that out, it's not something that is necessarily happening outside of you. It's more of like something within you gets activated. Something that it's activated in that subconscious, in the dark. and then it needs time to blossom forward, which normally in our case now would be happening at the full moon. So you'd be able to get some insights. So what we have here is we've got Hathor conjunct Sirius. We've also got the Lionsgate portal at the moment. This is relevant for anybody that's following the Lionsgate portal. I'll speak about that in a little minute. We've got, Mercury and Jupiter all conjunct over here. We have Isis, Osiris, the moon, and the sun all conjunct in Leo at this eclipse. We have Regulus conjunct the south node. We have Hekate conjunct the north node. And the aspects that we have on that day, if you go down, you'll see that there are two kites that form on this day. So we have the first kite, which is this one. We spoke about that in last week's astrology as well, between Pluto, Uranus, Neptune, and Venus. And then the other kite is between Pluto, Uranus, Venus, and Mercury with a little bit of Jupiter. And so I just wanted to show you this chart so that you can get an idea. And we also still have the T-square between Neptune, Venus, and Mars over here. And we've also got Pluto in an inconjunct with Mars. This is important. So this is the chart, and these are the different aspects. If you want to get a birth chart reading with me to see how and where all of these different archetypes are expressing within your own birth chart, you're welcome to do that. I call it Goddess Astrology. And if you're somebody that enjoys working with goddess and gods and archetypes and stuff, and you want to see where these points are activated and these sacred technologies or sacred energies exist within your own blueprint, you can contact me and we can book a reading for you. All right, let me open that up. And so now you've seen the chart, so let's start and get into it. So again, I feel like this eclipse is a threshold moment, right? It's one of those things, any eclipse is really generally a threshold moment. But because it's happening like in Leo specifically, I feel like the bigger invitation is really, who am I called to become? That's kind of theme number one, right, if you will. A new moon solar eclipse is kind of already about like the death of an old identity and the birth of something new, right? This is what a new moon represents, right? It's like something old is dying and something new is being reborn, right? So we know that Leo is confidence and courage and sovereignty and living from the heart and all of these beautiful energies, but Leo is not just confidence. It's being courageous enough to live from our hearts, because that takes courage. To really listen to your heart and really live from your heart and really follow your heart takes courage. Now we have Osiris and Isis and the sun and the moon in Leo all together. That amplifies this energy of, the dying of the old and the being born again, right? So Osiris represents the dying king. He represents fragmentation. He represents eventual resurrection. He represents sacrifice. He represents feeling comfortable in the underworld, being comfortable with death and metamorphosis and change and in the shadow. And Isis represents this beautiful divine feminine wisdom and queenship and devotion and magic, high magic, and also the ability to restore anything that has been broken or fragmented. So in the mythology, Isis was the one that put Osiris back together again after he was dismembered or fragmented. The sun symbolizes divine consciousness or purpose or spirit, the light, the masculine, the king. The moon symbolizes and represents the past, memory, the soul, emotional embodiment, like the feminine. So together in the sign of Leo, it tells this story of this resurrection. It is a moment to be resurrected. So when we have the masculine, Osiris, so when Osiris is healed through the wisdom and the devotion and the love of Isis, that is when a more integrated expression of purpose can be awakened within us and within our story. And so rather than finding yourself, this is a remembering yourself, putting yourself back together again kind of moment. When we have Regulus conjunct the South Node, all happening in that sign, right? Regulus is a fixed star and it's connected to kingship, honor. It's the heart of the lion. It's leadership. It's tastes that, and obviously also it has tastes that accompany power, right? Like any fixed star is also positive and negative. So that being conjunct the South Node, which is again our karma, our past, our history, it's releasing ego-driven leadership, or it's like ending old karmic patterns around needing to be recognized, needing to be validated, needing to be respected just because of entitlement. We can start to heal wounds around pride. We can let go of like the idea of leadership based purely on because I deserve it, because I'm this, therefore I deserve to be respected. Or I've got status, I've got money, I've got I don't know, like I own 3 companies and therefore you should respect me. Like that sense of entitlement that people have when it comes to based on what our egos expect people to do and give to us, and that pride, all of these old egoical, old ego, old wounded ways of leading now starts to actually clear up. Because when Regulus, the heart of the lion, is conjunct the South Node of loss, karma, past experiences, it's saying that, true authority actually requires a little bit of humility. Like, this is the end of leaders or systems built primarily on prestige or pride or false kingship. And we're being invited into a more heart-centered form of leadership. But that, again, takes courage. Can you stand up and do what needs to be done? Can you be David that throws the rock at Goliath kind of thing, right? Like, I don't know why that story is coming into my head, but it's like, people like Goliath was like this in the story in the Bible, like, he was this huge guy and everybody was afraid of him. And so he somehow commanded respect. But David was this like tiny little dude that, literally just picked up a rock and just slung it and killed and slayed the giant. And that shifted people's perspectives. Like even the little guy, even the nobody, David was like a nobody. And people looked down on him. They didn't, they didn't take him seriously. And somehow he ended up slaying this system, this guy, right, that was built on prestige. And so don't underestimate the power of being like living from that heart-centered consciousness, right? Like don't underestimate the power of yourself and the smallest things in your life that you may, perhaps think is insignificant. It might just be the exact thing that, sets you free from a system or a relationship or a contract or a belief that has been keeping you out of alignment with your heart. So just wanted to bring that in. Cholena, is anything coming up for you here that
Yeah,
you would
there's a good
keep?
example of that whole David versus Goliath thing going on in my town, where there's a lot of public opposition to a huge battery storage project that could potentially destroy the town and have very limited benefits. So there's this feeling of us just being the small people fighting this big corporation that's forcing its way in. Um, and It's totally possible, especially when one small person comes together and one small person comes together and one small person comes together and the truth rises and their voices come together. We can't be held back anymore.
That is a perfect example. Yeah, that's a really good example. So yes, and what I love about this whole thing is that the deeper invitation is the resurrection rites. It's like the remembering, it's the calling home, right? So we've spoken about this from a very external thing, like Kalina just gave the most perfect example of what that's like in our everyday lives and realities. But then the deeper invitation is that, can I call back the parts of myself that, have been forgotten, that I've been afraid to see, that I've been afraid to remember, that I've been afraid to awaken. So it's like calling on those resurrection rites, reawakening that deeper parts of ourselves that we have scattered across the wind, like calling them home. So this is a really incredible opportunity to work with both the masculine and the feminine on that day, because we have Osiris, Isis, the sun, the moon. And so it is again through the masculine is healed through the wisdom and the devotion of the feminine, allowing authentic expression of purpose.
The other thing coming through is remembering that our no is entirely sovereign and our yes is where we're meant to create and co-create. The yes is the guiding factor in life, and the no is totally sovereign. We don't need to fight for it. We just need to plant ourselves where there's a no and express that. It's totally sovereign. And we can, like in this, in this example, we can totally believe that corporations are more sovereign than us because we've been given that example and because we've had that experience in the past, but it's not the truth. So we can step back into our own personal truth, and then we are the David. And Goliath doesn't stand a chance.
That's beautiful. Remember that we also have Hekate sitting on the north node, right? So again, Hekate is the torchbearer. She's the queen of the witches. She is the keeper of the keys. She also travels between the realms. She lights the torch in the darkness, guiding lost souls home.
Mm.
Like, this is huge, right? Like the amount of coming back to your heart, like calling all of these parts of yourself home, like these lost, forbidden parts, the lost inner children, it's so far out. Like, you can call back soul fragments from past lives and like all these different things. It's huge. Like, there's such a beautiful moment of resurrection, of coming back to yourself, coming home to yourself, that is available for us on this day. So Hecate governs initiation, again, endings, transitions, hidden wisdom, like the crossroads, being in the past, the present, the future. And when she is sitting on the North Node, it's like we are being guided towards a new future through uncertainty, because she's comfortable at that crossroads. She can see the past, the present, and the future. She's in the now moment. She's not in one particular time. And so she helps us on this day becoming comfortable standing at this threshold, not knowing if I make this decision, what's going to happen? If I leave this relationship, what's going to happen? If I end up saying no, if I, like there's a sense of that uncertainty when we make these choices for ourselves, when we're pushed beyond something and we realize like, okay, I kind of, like my heart is telling me to do this thing. My heart is telling me that I can't stay at this job anymore. My heart is telling me that I need to buy this house. My heart is telling me that I need, like, I don't know, like I need to get divorced, right? Like your heart is telling you, right? What is the next step on your path? But if you can trust that, if you can lean into that, the choice, the action, everything that comes with that, that uncertainty will actually, it's the uncertainty of that that actually helps you to get closer to your goal because she's sitting next to the North Node there. She's saying to you, become comfortable standing at this threshold. Be in the present moment, in the now, the past, the present, the future, because the next step will reveal itself. As you step, the path becomes illuminated. And so it's amazing because it's really just this beautiful opportunity of like, okay, we might not know what if I listen to my heart, right? If I'm courageous enough to follow my heart's truest and deepest desires, if I can lean into that and I can let go, I can let the old die. I can call my dreams back to me, my hopes back to me. I can rebuild myself, remember myself, reclaim myself. Then I can take the next step and I can trust that it will reveal itself. There's magic there, there's power there. Can you trust your intuition before the next step appears? Or before the evidence appears? Or before the plan or the how is in place? So it's really beautiful. And then we've also got Hathor conjunct Priapus and well, conjunct Sirius, and Priapus also happens to be in the mix. And this is relevant to the Lionsgate. And so for anybody that doesn't know what Lionsgate is celebrated every year in Egypt, basically give or take around about the 8th of August on a calendar year. And it is essentially when Sirius, for pretty much like the majority of like the year, the star Sirius, which we know in Egypt, every pyramid, every temple is aligned to the Sirius, right? Like the map, the construction of these ancient sites were all built to align with Sirius as well as like Orion and like whatever we saw was created and constructed on the earth matched like the heavens, and it's sort of like a cosmic blueprint, like a map of what's happening above is happening below. And so when Sirius moved out from behind the sun and it rose before the sun, so this is what we would call the heliacal rising of Sirius, and this was the time that abundance was rife in Egypt. The Nile would flow over. There would be a sense of like massive abundance, and Hathor happens to be the goddess that represents exactly that, and she is conjunct Sirius. So her energy of joy, abundance, sexuality, nourishment, like touches in, and she is sitting next to Sirius, this time to awaken and be in that beautiful abundance. And it's amazing, it's just like really perfectly aligned. Like I find it to be incredibly interesting. So when we have Priapus is there, Priapus is like another point in the sky. It's another nodal, well, no, not a nodal point, but it's like an ecliptic point, and it's like we have dark moon Lilith, and then we have Priapus. So it's like it's Priapus is actually derived from the orbit of Eris, which is the sister goddess of Mars. So without war, like you can't have chaos without war, and there's war and chaos and war, right? And so this is where Eris is so Priapus is connected to her orbit is the word. Sorry. But it represents appetite and, wanting more and wanting to like be excessive, right? Like Priapus is like having an insatiability, attraction, hunger, like an instinctive desire. And so where we have this like insatiable appetite, which is very similar to the energy of the North Node of Rahu, it's, and then, Hathor is there and she is like, let's get drunk on wine and be in abundance and opulence. And it's, and then, we've got like all this flow and this abundance during the Lion's Gate. So it's a really like abundant, very opulent, very big time. And then this is all happening within Leo and within Cancer, like the heart and the mother and the creativity. And like, there's just a really beautiful energy of like abundance, fertility, heart-centered creation, life force energy, like turning all of our inspirations into yeah, just whatever we want, right? Like it's just turning, it's like craving, right? Like we're craving something more. But it's also a really good just thing to be aware of when we're in excess, because sometimes there is that thing where it can be like gluttony, where it's gluttonous, right, where we just take. So be careful of that. But for the most part, I find the energies to be really beautiful and very expansive and very creative and very sensual and very opulent and very it's gonna sound so weird, but it's like orgy energy, right? Like it's just like there's just love everywhere. Like people are just like it's just love everywhere, and it's pleasure everywhere, and people are just like having the best time of their lives, and it's like it's just there's so much of that there. And then at the same time, we've got Isis and Osiris and the moon and the sun and the heart, and it's like calling back these parts of ourselves and coming back into the heart. And it's this huge moment of reclamation that can happen for all of us. And it's big, like it's a big energy as well. We've also got those two kites that we spoke about. Remember that we spoke about, like in last week's astrology. I'll link that for anybody that wants to watch that. The first kite is between Neptune, Venus, Pluto, and Uranus, but the opposition between Neptune and Venus, right? So what is real and what is fantasy? What is real love and what is real fantasy? Like is this real, genuine love and connection, or is this a projection? Pluto in that mix is okay on that day. Remember, this is activated on that day. We spoke about this again, but I'm just going to reiterate that Pluto is truth and empowerment, right? Uranus is liberation. So we move from like the illusion and the playing small and the not believing in ourselves and thinking that we're incapable to awakening, remembering our truth, activating our sacredness, activating our power, activating our hearts, stepping into more love, stepping into more acceptance, stepping into more abundance. And then we start to transform and we start to call back all of these parts of ourselves that we have forgotten or abandoned or rejected. And then we get to start to embody all of these new healthier aspects of ourselves, right? So our relationships may experience huge revelation and change and revolution. The same with our values and our money and our creativity and our spirituality. And the second kite is, wait, I got to get this right. Pluto, Venus, Uranus, and Mercury, right? So yes, Mercury is opposite Pluto. This is mental again, right? So on that day, Mercury sits next to Jupiter, and it also expands our consciousness, our mind. We can get to understand more. We can have deeper conversations. We can be truthful. We can have sudden insights, profound realizations. We can, a lot of disclosure. we need more. There's a lot of disclosure that can happen, right? A lot more hidden and, information can come forward. A lot of ancient wisdom can come forward. A lot of ancient information can be revealed to us in meditation, through the news. We can, Atlantean technology, information within Egypt. There's a lot of different things that can happen that day where, our past experiences, like our deeper past, we get information around this. We get insights around this. We shift paradigms completely. There can be massive breakthroughs within communication, and our conversations may become these huge catalysts for absolutely life-changing decisions. So whatever the conversations are on that day, and whatever we share and whatever we say and whatever we initiate on that day can have massive impact for us in our future lives going forward. Like one conversation that day can change the trajectory of your life. Like that's how powerful this is in that way, right? And then we've also got that square still with Neptune and Venus and Mars, and at the same time Pluto is also in a quincunx to Mars, and Mars has just moved into Cancer. So Mars and Cancer will fight to protect what it loves. But it can also react and respond from old emotional wounds and victimhood and all the other stuff that we know Cancer can do. But this square, this tension there that's created is between compassion, action, dreams, and implementation. And, can I be tough, but can I be soft? Can I protect, but can I also, endure? Can I be compassionate and yet also firm? So we may feel very inspired, but we might not necessarily know how to act on that inspiration. And so with Pluto, adding that quincunx aspect to Mars, it adjusts this process slightly, right? Because it's how do you use power and will? Mars is will, Pluto is power. So change how you use power and will. Do you want to continue operating from the old systems and oppressive ways and things that just didn't feel good? Or do you want to change it? So rather than forcing outcomes or, staying stuck in the same old routines, the invitation is to become more intentional and emotionally aware before taking action, letting your heart lead you, trusting that despite not knowing what the outcome of this conversation may be, or this choice may be, or this action may be, you've got this. You will be shown the way. You will be met with, Hekate will meet you. She will walk with you. She's the witch. She's the magic. You've also got, Regulus sitting next to the South Node saying, I've got you. Remember your power. Remember your power. Remember that you had 2,000 lifetimes ago, you were pure source consciousness. Remember that time where you were in your full power and you weren't afraid to speak your mind. Remember that time when you were a kid where you were just playing pretend and you were just having the best time of your life. Remember what that's like. Can you embody that again? Can you reclaim those parts? Can you call those parts home to yourself? Can you remember yourself? Can you do it through love? And also combining that masculine and that feminine qualities within all of us. So it's a beautiful story that kind of emerges, right? So if I had to kind of just weave the mythology together a little bit, Osiris dies and Isis gathers all of these scattered pieces together, right? Hekate is standing at the crossroads with her torch, bearing witness and remaining in the now, having one foot in the past, the present, and the future. Regulus is saying to the old king, buddy, bruh, bruh. Like, lay down your crown. Like, it's time, something new needs to be born now. Something new. We're looking for a new way of leader, like a new way of leading. Sirius, beautiful light shining overhead. There's abundance, like there's joy, there's like all this, like just energy of creation, of life force, of potentiality that's also in the air. And then we've, got Neptune dissolving illusions, and Uranus is like awakening the future, and Pluto is transforming the soul and having conversations with the mind, and Mercury and Jupiter are trying to understand each other and expand in their awareness and their communication. And Mars is learning a new way to express courage. And, we're leading from the heart. And so it's like this huge, like, inner initiation where these old rules within each one of us, like these old fragmented aspects of us, is now made whole in a much more authentic way, in a way where heart-based choices and leadership and sovereignty starts to begin to emerge. So we're moving away from, like these old powers, old systems, old beliefs, old nonsense, towards wisdom. So it's no longer just power. We're moving away from outdated power into more embodied wisdom, letting our inner world guide us. So our heart becomes this meeting place where our intellect and our intuition and our love and transformation all converge, all meet within the heart. So I think that's amazing, and I think it's really beautiful. And humility and courage would be the two key phrases that I would, um, add to this day. And so how would you work with it? Journal what parts of you need to be called back home. And we don't have to tell you, you already feel it within your system. You look at your life and you go, I've been avoiding this conversation for years. It's time that I speak up. It's time that I speak my truth. I need to say what I need to say, like whatever that thing is, right? We all know what it is within us. So maybe journaling is the right thing to do. Become clear on what you want. What is the next heart-based decision for you? On that day, go on a journey, meet your masculine, meet your feminine, um, do some meditation, do heart-based and heart-based coherence practices, breathe, open up your heart, like activate your innate Hathor. Sensual embodiment practices would be super, super good as well on that day, like to activate that voluptuous Shakti, sensual energy. Just there's so many different themes that you can work with specifically that you can extract from this conversation. And again, you don't have to do everything on the 12th, right? Like you can do it over 2 weeks. So you can take one theme at a time and consciously work with this through embodiment, movement, breath, somatic practice, um, journaling, whatever you wish, whatever your process is. Cholena, would you like to add something here before we wrap it up?
Yeah, let your life lead you into what is best for you. Um, this may feel like a huge go big or go home kind of moment, but there are, in the simple, mundane things going on, huge transformations that can happen. Simple story. I was noticing myself feeling very sensitive about kittens in my house right now, about having to rehome two of the kittens and not being able to keep them all together. And I was like just noticing how I was feeling extra sensitive to that. And this should be a normal thing. Most of the time, cats are rehomed, right? And so it just linked me back to, a lifetime where lineage and birthing were huge trauma for me. And just in simply being conscious about the way that we rehome the kittens so my cat doesn't experience trauma. Just knowing that I can be present with my daughter and how she, if she chooses to have children, how that process is for her. And so totally shifting the way that particular thing is experienced in my house, in my experience right now, in my lineage, is totally shifting that old lifetime and whichever ones were associated with that. So, in creating just a simple awareness of being really present for the process now, it's like the domino effect way back into my own history because everything is now, and everything that we shift right now goes all the way back for our ancestors, for ourselves. So we can do the biggest healing in the simplest of ways just by being present and intentional. So you don't have to, and there may be big moves also, big surface moves going on. Like you could be moving your whole house, your whole job, and everything could be shifting. But notice the huge potential available in the simplest things that are opening up for you. Just like in being aware of, oh, I feel sensitive about my cat. It led me to realize that this huge healing is available just by being present in a different way for the process.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you. So I just wanted to quickly take a moment to just give like the 4 or 5 key notes, like just to summarize this whole thing, because I feel like there's so many themes and energies and like strings that you can kind of pull on. That's like, I want to work with this one, I want to work with this one, I want to work with this one. So I just want to give you like a very brief summary of what are the different themes, so that you can just kind of clock them and remember them and then choose how you want to work with them and which one speaks to you the most during this time. So the first one is that resurrection of that authentic self. Remember who you really are. That's theme number 1. So we have Osiris and Isis, the sun and the moon in Leo, okay, next to the eclipse. Old identities, roles, and masks will fall away so that your true essence can emerge and you can start to remember your truth, who you really are. Okay. Theme number 2 is this new era of conscious leadership. Okay, with Regulus conjunct the South Node, it is the end of leadership that is built on pride or status or recognition. Hekate conjunct the North Node is calling us forward and towards intuitive, wise, and spiritually guided leadership and listening. So we're moving away from external authority to inner sovereignty. We lead with humility, wisdom, and soul. Theme number 3 is this awakening of this divine feminine wisdom. We have Isis, we have Hekate, we have Hathor, we have Venus, right? All featuring prominently, and the moon in this eclipse, right? Suggesting that our intuition and our compassion, our creativity, and our sacred feminine intelligence becomes our guiding force for this next chapter, rather than, again, trying to like put it outwards and pushing something out. We're invited to trust that unseen path and go in. So our feminine essence, choices, energy becomes the compass for our future. And then we've also got revolutionary shifts in truth, love, and compassion and consciousness with those 2 kites. So awakening to a higher truth about love and purpose and reality. We dissolve illusions, relationships evolve, new ways of thinking replace outdated beliefs. There's enormous opportunity for awakening. And then finally, the heart-centered action that will help us to create this new world, right? With Mars at 0 degrees of Cancer, challenging or being challenged at least by Venus and Neptune and Pluto. So reminding us that courage must now come from emotional intelligence rather than just forcing things or ego-driven choices or actions. So this eclipse is teaching us that lasting transformation actually happens when love and intuition and authentic action work together. So we act from our heart, not from fear. And when we do, we create a new world, a new paradigm, a new reality for ourselves and for the people that we love and care about. So that is what this particular eclipse is awakening for us. And this is how we get to work with it at this time. And so if you would like to see where this eclipse is taking place for you in your own birth chart, you're welcome to read out. We can do a reading. Otherwise, just look at your own natal birth chart. Anywhere within 20 degrees in your birth chart. If you have any planet at 20 degrees, anywhere between, let's say, 19 to 22 degrees, that will be activated. And of course, if you have anything, kind of in oppositions or in, squares to that, being at Aquarius or what's the other two? Taurus and Scorpio. We have Taurus and Scorpio, Leo, and Aquarius. If you have anything in those kinds of houses or signs, this eclipse will obviously also impact you. And if you have anything at 0 degrees of or at late degrees of Virgo, Gemini, Sagittarius, Pisces, this will also you'll also kind of be feeling that with that South Node sitting there as well. So just looking at that, and then if you want to take this any further, you're welcome to reach out for a reading. And what I'm also going to do is I will drop a free PDF at the bottom, which you can link and you can click just directly below in the description box. And I will put a couple of journal prompts in there for a PDF that you can download with some journal prompts that you can feel into, and also maybe just 1 or 2 short practices that you can do on your own that will help you to utilize this energy as fully and completely as possible. So you can get that below. All right, that's it. That's it for me. Happy eclipse.
Happy eclipse. This is going to call us to be conscious about what actions we're taking. And it's also, like I said before, going to support us in clearing things out in very subtle ways as well. So be conscious of both things. The universe is conspiring in all of our favor. Sanam.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. See you soon.
See you soon.